Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, infinite consciousnesses. It's really all, in some mysterious way, part of one consciousness. Hi, thanks so much for dropping by this video. Very excited to be making this video. Um, so, I explored non-duality for quite some time, and then I came across what I consider to be the actual teachings of Christ. And, um, the essence of it being to surrender to God. And well, that's a big topic, what God is. We'll leave that for another video, but to surrender to God and put oneself in service to God and just seek to follow God and be guided by God. As it's written, the night before Christ was arrested, it's written that Christ prayed, this cup is, I forget, is bitter or heavy. Please take it from me, but not my will. Thy will be done. This real act of surrender to life, to God, to love. And so I found a teacher that expressed what I consider to be the real teachings of Christ, but I didn't really fully get it until I read these following lines from Ramana Maharshi, and then it just all clicked in. So we're going to talk a little bit today about the path of surrender, which Ramana talked about. It seems he talked about it maybe a lot less than he did other paths, but he certainly gave it some airtime. Here's one thing he had to say about it. There are only two ways in which to conquer destiny or be independent of it. Destiny meaning our karmic load. One is to inquire who undergoes the destiny and discover that the self is not bound by it. The other way is to completely to surrender to the Lord by realizing one's helplessness. Wow. And that's the thing, when Ramana spoke of surrender, he always talked about humility, always talked about this recognition of one's complete powerlessness, which is very interesting because it's written that Christ said, "Of myself, I can do nothing." So here's another quote from Ramana. You ask if grace cannot hasten competence for the search. Leave it to him, meaning God. Surrender unreservedly. God never forsakes the one who has surrendered. One of two things must be done. Either surrender because you admit your inability and also require higher power to help you, or investigate the cause of misery. Go into the source and merge in the self. Either way, you will be free from misery. Once again, very interesting to read this from Ramana, because, all of us who are on this path of recovering from Neo-Advaita, part of what we're part of what I'm realizing, it seems like others are too, is we've been given a very distorted picture of what Ramana actually taught. I've been to many Neo-Advaita satsangs, and not once was surrender talked about. Not once. And yet, in Ramana's, the one thing Ramana wrote, Upadesha Swaram, on the path, surrender or serving God is the first practical instruction he gave, which again, as I've said, is the essence of karma yoga. Doing action without attachment to a result, and doing action out of devotion or wish to serve God. So here's another beautiful quote of Ramana's on this topic. There are two ways. One is looking into the source of I and merging into that source. The other is feeling, I am helpless by myself. God alone is all powerful, and except by throwing myself completely on him, there is no other means of safety for me. This real sense of taking absolute refuge in God, and not looking to people, places, or things to be the solution to our problems. It's a very it's a very radical approach because as human beings, we're constantly looking. We're constantly looking for something to take care of us, to make us happy, to and here Brahmana, points out, hey, you want to do self-inquiry, but of course elsewhere he talked about there are prerequisites for that. If you don't meet those prerequisites, then the path of surrender, which is a form of bhakti, is what Ramana recommended. To admit our inability, that we require a higher power to help us. This flies in the face of worldly good sense, in which it's like become empowered, become a self-made man or woman, or but the spiritual path, and it doesn't mean about humbling ourselves before other people, meaning putting up with nonsense or kowtowing to other people, but to recognize that um, without a higher power, there's no hope for us. Now, again, this is a path of surrender and bhakti, which is very different than the path of self-inquiry. Though Ramana says the two take you to the same place, which is interesting to contemplate. And so, for myself, realizing that I'm nowhere near the prerequisites for self-inquiry. I'm currently practicing a form of surrender and form of dedicating my life to serving God. It's very satisfying, and it's ultimately that's what karma yoga is, in a very simple form of looking to God to take care of you and just looking to serve God and to do your duty, and not seeking to really do anything other than that. And it's a very satisfying way to live. So I just wanted to share those quotes of Ramana's with me. They were revolutionary for me. Because again, in Neo-Advaita, over and over, it's like, inquire, just inquire, inquire, it'll purify your mind, And to anyone new to this channel, I invite you to hop around some of my other videos. That's just an absolute myth. Self-inquiry is only for someone at a very specific point on the path who has done a lot of preparation, or who is a very ripe soul. And by very ripe, what I mean is not looking for happiness anywhere in the world, not having any real desires other than to satisfy one's duty and to be of service. So the beautiful thing is what I'm talking about prepares one for self-inquiry. So yeah, I think that's all I've got on this topic. The last thing I'll say is the original version of the 12 steps, not what you'll hear in the average 12-step meeting today, is really captures the essence of karma yoga, and really captures the essence of what Ramana spoke of, admitting our need for a higher power, our need for God, and then really surrendering and really embodying the St. Francis prayer, which is such a beautiful prayer. It starts off, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, that where there is hatred, let me sow love. And it's this prayer about turning our desire for things into a desire to give. And it's very precious, and hope people take a moment and look at it. Thank you so much for dropping by. Take care. Much love.